Watching British TV, you would be forgiven to think that the UK is a multicultural, post-racial bastion of equality. People of colour linking arms with their white compatriots, not a hint of racial discrimination to be seen. It would also be forgiven to think that the UK has always been this way, and that there are an equal proportion of black and white people living side by side. However, this is far from reality. In fact, there appears to be a massive discrepancy in representation within the British media. At best, it's just inaccurate. At worst, it's misguided and even harmful. The drive to include more black people in British TV and adverts has had an unfortunate consequence for other ethnic minority groups, in particular Asian people. This video will discuss the apparent erasure of British Asians from the media. A few years ago, a study by Ofcom showed that black people accounted for around 23% of on-screen representation in the media, despite making up 3.3% of the population. In comparison, the same study showed that Asian people accounted for just 3% of on-screen representation, despite making up 7.5% of the population. So what is the cause for this massive discrepancy? Why is it that black people are overrepresented, but Asian people are underrepresented? There are numerous reasons why this discrepancy might exist. Firstly, most TV productions are made in London, a city with a significantly higher black population and ethnic population in general when compared to the rest of the UK. London-based companies have a greater diverse pool of talent to choose from. However, that doesn't entirely explain why Asian groups are not being represented accurately. After all, London also has a significant Asian population. When people think of racism, they often think of black versus white, the civil rights movement, and black slavery. It is easy for people to forget or overlook the discrimination that occurs towards other ethnic groups. This is especially true recently, considering the black rights advocacy groups, such as Black Lives Matter, are by far the most vocal when it comes to standing for race issues. Black rights advocacy groups are not only more vocal, but more assertive, often arranging protests, boycotts, social media attacks, and so forth. It is this assertive vocality that makes TV executives think twice about the actors and actresses they hire for their productions, forcing them to include diversity whenever possible, regardless of logic, historic or modern. TV executives likely feel threatened by groups such as Black Lives Matter, and not wanting to cause a commotion on social media, bump black representation up to meet some network diversity quota. Once met, they can pat themselves on the back and pretend that the issue of race relations is solved and ignore the problems of other ethnic groups. Deborah Williams, executive director of the Creative Diversity Network, said that black actors are often overrepresented because improving on-screen diversity had traditionally been seen as a quick win. She said the easiest thing to do, and everyone is guilty of this whether in television or other industries, is to find a black person and put them on. This is, unfortunately, at the expense of other ethnic groups. Asian rights advocacy groups are not nearly as vocal, united, or as common as black rights groups. There really isn't a united Asian identity in the UK, like there is a united black identity. As Asian groups are disorganized and not vocal, it is easy for media corporations to ignore them. It is also possible that the increase in anti-Chinese sentiment brought about by the pandemic and increasing CCP aggression may also play a role in why Asian people are underrepresented by the British media. China doesn't have a good international image at the moment. A recent YouGov poll found that 45% of Britons disliked China, with another YouGov poll finding only 34% believe Chinese migrants make a positive impact on the UK. With a lack of Asian off-screen roles within media corporations, it is possible anti-Asian discrimination is even being actively promoted. In conclusion, representation of black people in the media isn't a bad thing, of course. However, this should not come at the expense of Asian representation or other ethnic groups. This is a problem that needs to be addressed. The British media needs to reflect demographics more realistically, more balanced. The media should not bend to the pressure of groups such as Black Lives Matter if it directly impacts the representation of other groups. That is not reality, and that is not equality.